back to this episode of Hero Comics Best and the Worst. This is the Best and the Worst of X-Men 3 The Last Stand. Now, the best thing about X-Men 3 The Last Stand was the fact that this had a good story. There was actually a good story in there if it hadn't been for Jean Grey turning from an awesome character into a monster. Would have been really good. But unfortunately, because of that, it was bad. That was the main issue. That was the worst thing about it. Jean Grey's transformation. I'm gonna do a little Harry Plinkett type stuff. Basically, you heard there was gonna be a third X-Men movie. He's like, well, the second one was awesome, so this one may be better. It tended to rationalize because you saw what happened at the end of X-Men 2. Jean Grey, after sacrificing herself to save everyone else in the X-Jet, so for some reason the thing decided not to work, was enveloped by tons of looked like she got crushed by tons of water from the dam in Alkali Lake to visit the president. After the other X-Men go to visit the president, they go home and mourn her loss because they think she's dead. But then the professor, while teaching some students, senses something. A student asks him, "Is everything okay?" And he says, "Yeah, I think everything's going to be all right." And then you go back to Alkali Lake, flying over Alkali Lake in a helicopter shot. You hear the lady that plays Jean Grey talking about, talking about mutation, and then you see underneath the water the golden phoenix bird, a very faint outline of the golden phoenix bird, and man, it's gonna be awesome. X-Men 3 is gonna be awesome because they're gonna have the phoenix in there, and she's gonna be amazing and wonderful and superhero, on the cosmic levels. It's gonna be great. Now, unfortunately, you didn't know how totally wrong you were. Jean Grey was a horrible monster who would, after getting out of the lake, became a horrible monster who would kill you just as soon as look at you. Someone you said, "Oh, yeah, she has to die," which basically ruined the movie. Which is basically the biggest thing that ruined the movie. He killed Scott. He killed the professor. Yeah, Wolverine had to kill her. Killed all kinds of other people. It was terrible. That was the hugest problem. It shouldn't have been. It should have been about power. Because it was trying to be about power and responsibility. The problem is, of course, they were saying, instead of saying, hey, someone with all this power needs to be responsible, it's like, hey, someone with all this power will go crazy. Which is not really about power or responsibility, because you're crazy. You go crazy, you're not going to be able to do anything. You're not thinking rationally. You're not thinking, hey, I shouldn't do this because that would be bad. Moral codes and everything. No, you're a monster now. You had no moral code. You're a monster. That didn't work. Okay? It really should have been about power. It should have been about responsibility. Power and responsibility. It should have, the lines that the professor gives to Logan about how he made a bunch of psychic barriers and chose the lesser of two evils. He should have gave those to Jean. Jean should have been flew down there. Cyclops should not have been killed. I don't think. Maybe especially since he's supposed to go with someone that looks exactly like Jean and have two kids. Nate, Gray, and Cable. Come on. Anyway, he should have been okay. Nope. Should have been Jean should have been flew down in the Phoenix bird and been hey, what the heck is, Professor, why didn't you tell me I had all this power, man? You were keeping secrets, What did you do to me? It's I chose the lesser of two evils, You could have got someone killed, let you do it, stuff. You could have got someone killed. You're oh. No, why didn't you give me that? Why didn't you let me choose that? Huh? What's up with that? It was stupid. It was really crap. And I would have liked it better if it had been Magneto messing around doing all this crazy stuff. And then they give him the cure. They stab him with the cure, and that stops everything. Messing around, killing people, throwing stuff around because he's the bad guy. So basically, yeah, why not? Why not have him be throwing stuff around, grabbing people and grabbing stuff and throwing everything around and like that? Why not have that? Why not have that? And then they get stabbed with the cure, and then he gets stabbed with the cure, and then he stops because he decided, I'm going to use this power to stop. A conscious decision to use his power to destroy his enemies. Okay, Why not have that? That would be cool. Jean Grey could try to stop him, hold him at bay, and well, and of course, hold him at bay, maybe get hurt, or even killed because of that. That would have been fine with me. Because then, or not, that would have been fine with me. Then there's the other issue, okay? Professor should not have been disintegrated by Jean. Maybe blasted backward and knocked into a coma, perhaps. By Jean, trying to put the psychic barriers back on, a little bit of a darker side to the professor, that kind of stuff. That would have been cool. Because they're like, no, you're too powerful to be controlled. Like, get out of my head. Professor, no. So they basically, it's like, Jean can't trust Professor. Cyclops, of course, is, sees that Jean's alive and then sees the Professor messed with her. So he's not trusting the Professor anymore. So both of them leave the group. Wolverine's, of course, it was on the Professor's side. Well, it's kind of, it's confused. He's confused. He's confused, but it's like, he definitely doesn't want the Professor to get killed. He doesn't want Jean to get killed. That kind of stuff would have been just fine. I would have had no problem with that. Problem is, of course, they did it all wrong. It was all wrong. All this cool stuff going on, and he did it all wrong. So that was the main issue. The worst thing about it was how Jean was turned into a monster. Best thing would be what it could have been. An awesome tale about power and responsibility. Unfortunately, it wasn't that. And therefore, it was the worst of the main 3 X-Men movies. See you next time.